How's it? Steroids shouldn't be illegal. Now you may be thinking that's a bit of a crazy claim, and to be honest, you're completely correct. It is a crazy claim. However, there are so many things that people don't consider when they take into account the name steroids. Steroids has a very taboo thing about it. Something people often relate to ailments, death, shortening of life, and ultimately a not fun time. Today I'm going to be going over my thoughts on it and a couple of little facts that the majority of people who aren't in the fitness industry may or may not know. Let's go back a second, all the way back to the golden era of bodybuilding. Steroids became illegal in 1990. Right? That is ages ago. And to this day, we aren't able to develop steroids anymore, pretty much meaning the athletes you see today on the TV are still consuming steroids that were used back in 1990. You may be thinking, that's not a big issue, is it? Well, it kind of is, because the side effects and the drawbacks of the usage of steroids are enormous. However, that wouldn't have to be the case if they hadn't become illegal. If they hadn't become illegal and we were still able to develop and further our knowledge into steroids chemically, we more than likely would have a more safe substance than we do today. Also, due to the fact of them being banned in 1990, it means that the steroids on the market today have become lower and lesser in quality, creating more side effects and damaging people more than they ever did before. Steroids aren't pure anymore, they're dirty. And if you know anything about dirt, it's not good. Playing the devil's advocate, you can look at it from a different sense. Who would want to fund research into steroids? We have so many more things that are important to develop. Cures for cancer, medicine, things like that. And that would be the wiser idea. However, private research more than likely still be able to cover that whole genre of drugs. Now, I don't claim to be any expert when it comes to steroids. However, being in the fitness industry, I have been enlightened ever so slightly on the topic. Not only are we putting the athletes at risk by them using the continuous supply of old steroids, but also we're almost taking a step back in progress, not allowing for us to develop the sport. You can also take it to the other perspective of it is your body, and to that extent, why don't you have control over it? Now, it makes sense that the government makes things bad for you illegal. Drugs are illegal because we've seen what happens when people are consumed by drugs. Addiction, all sorts of bad, miserable things, and then you end up with a society full of people roaming the streets, barking at you. But where's the harm in having an absurd amount of muscle? It could be used for super soldiers, people building houses. No more need for 10 people when you can have one person on trenbolone. So where does the line get drawn? When does it become something you can put into your body and something you can't? From that note, you can go over a variety of drugs, alcohol, nicotine, etc. Why is that not illegal? That is bad for you as well. It doesn't drastically cut down your life compared to the usage of steroids. However, it cuts down your life nonetheless. I guess you could look at practicality as well. Some drugs can be used for PTSD, aiding people through their lives. However, there's no real use to being a big muscular person. Ultimately, it's putting more strain on your organs, your joints. But at the end of the day, it should be a person's choice whether or not they can consume the substance, such as it is with alcohol and nicotine. If you choose to shorten your life, knowingly stepping into this path, who's to stop you? Who's to stop you from smoking or drinking? It shouldn't be someone else's decision, in this case, a government. It also causes a big issue for people who choose to take it regardless of the law. Injecting yourself with impure substances is obviously going to cause issues. You're obviously going to have side effects and feel terrible compared to if you were able to get, even from the 1990s, a pure version of that substance. That gives me a bit of a leeway to go into a personal story that I know of. So I have a person I know who entered the bodybuilding industry. As a result, they made the decision to start enhancing themselves for the purpose of competing. As steroids are illegal, you have to acquire them through someone sketchy, essentially. And because of that, he ended up getting a substance that was impure, not only stopping the performance he should have experienced, but also more than likely damaging his organs more than would have happened if he had taken a pure substance. He did end up acquiring a pure substance and managed to get himself back on track and reach the growth levels he had been expecting and hoping for. However, with the toll of steroids comes the issues, the side effects, and in turn his organs began to fail. The wise decision in this case is to stop, and stop he did, because you don't want to damage yourself and shorten your lifespan to an extent when you cut your life in half. If you can take anything from that story, I think it's the lack of accessibility to these substances and the lack of development of them has resulted in people going to extraordinary extents to acquire them from unofficial people who are aware that their substances are not pure and clean, which damages a person. And in this case, it did damage the person. It also shows you that there are consequences from taking steroids, and the consequences aren't something light. It's not like when you're in school or you're playing video games, you die, you try again, you fail a test, oh well, you can do it again next week. In this case, this is your organs, your body. This is the one thing you have, and if you damage it and ruin it, you're not going to be able to replace it. It's a little bit of food for thought, and you should consider this before you decide to take any performance enhancing drugs. On the other hand, I still do firmly believe they shouldn't be illegal, allowing for development of them, because regardless of the status the government puts on them, people are going to use them. And why not develop something that's safer for the user and these competitors out there performing for the world? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.